All right, good morning, my loves. Okay, so today I want to talk about the commutative and the associative properties, okay? Commutative property, what does that tell us? That means it does not matter which order we put things in, they're still going to add up to be the same thing. For instance, 1 plus 2 is the same as 2 plus 1. They both equal 3, okay? The associative property tells us that you can group things any way you want when you are trying to add them together. For instance, if you add 2 plus 3 to get 5 first and then add 1, it would be 6. If you add 1 plus 2 to get 3 and then add 3, it is still going to be 6, okay? Why is this important? Well, we can apply that if you have to add more than 2 fractions together, okay? For instance, in this problem, the easiest thing to start with would be to regroup these as 2 and 5/8 plus 1 and 1/8, okay? And then add the 1 and 2/3 after that, okay? Because you can add these together easily. You've got 2 plus 1, right? Which would give you 3. You've got 5/8 plus 1/8 together gives you 6/8, right? Okay. So once you've done that, it makes it a lot easier. Just gonna move everything up. So now we've got 3 and 6/8, and we have our original 1 and 2/3 that we have not added onto there, okay? Now that we have done that, we added the 2 that had the similar denominators together. Now we can change the denominators to make it easier, okay? So what is the common denominator between 8 and 3? And actually, I'm going to redo, well, it doesn't matter. We're going to show you how to do it this way, okay? What is the common denominator between 8 and 3? Okay, that's right, it's 24, okay? So we've got 3 and something over 24 plus 1 and something over 24. And then you say, how did I get from 8 to 24? I multiply by 3. 3 times 6 is 18. How did I get from 3 to 24? I multiplied by 8. 8 times 2 is 16, okay? You can use that same property to say, all right, I'm going to add my 3 plus 1 together first, and then I'm going to add it to my 18/24 plus 16/24. Okay? So you got 4 here. 18 plus 16 gives me what? Should give me 34 over 24. Okay, I cannot leave it like that. How many times will 24 go into 34? It'll go 1 with 10 left over, right? We can then add these 2 pieces together. So we've got 5 and 10/24. And then the last step is to reduce, okay? What number will go into both 10 and into 24? 2. 2 will go into both of them. So you end up with 5 and 5/12, okay? It's a really long problem, but you see the point. Our associative property and commutative property give us the option of mixing things up to add them however would work best, okay? Since you are essentially adding all these pieces together, it doesn't matter which order you add them in, okay? All right. So go ahead and turn to page 409, and let's look at a few example problems to try out together, okay? All right. So we are going to try number 2 together first. We've got 5/12 plus another 5/12 plus 3/4. Okay? All right, I'm going to group the ones that are 12ths together first. So I'm going to regroup this like this. to make it easier for me to add, okay? Now I could say 5 plus 5 is 10 over 12, right? Plus 3/4. Okay, we cannot solve it like this, so we're going to have to change the denominators to match. In this case, 12 is going to be the easiest one, so I'm going to rewrite that 10/12 because we already have a 12 for that one, plus what over 12? Well, how did I get from 4 to 12? I multiplied by 3, so 3 times 3 gives me 9. Once I've done that, I end up with 19/12. You can't leave it like that, so how many times will 12 go into 19? It will go one whole time with 7 left over. So your answer is 1 7/12. All right. Next week. All right, our next problem, let's go ahead and try problem number 3. Okay, so we have 3 1/4. We are adding that to 2 5/6. And then we are adding the whole thing to 1 3/4. Okay? All right, so I'm going to rearrange these to make the ones that are fourths put together first to make it easier for me. So I'm going to do 3 1/4 plus 1 3/4. And then add that together to 2 5/6. Okay? All right, so 1/4 plus 3/4 and 1 plus 3. So I'm just going to kind of break that up into a little mini one. 3 plus 1 plus 1/4 plus 3/4. Okay? Don't get confused. I just broke them into 2 pieces. Okay, 3 plus 1 is 4. Plus 1/4 plus 3/4 is 4/4. And what do we know about anything over itself equals 1? So essentially that's going to equal 4 plus 1, which is 5, right? Okay. All right, I'm going to erase a little bit, move these pieces up, okay? So now that I have used these 2, they've become a 5. Now I just have to add the 2 5/6, okay? Because we added up and got a whole number, we don't even have to do anything else to make a common denominator. So all we have to do is add the 5 and the 2 together, and that gives me 7 5/6, okay? All right, so let's try a couple of practice problems together, okay? Don't forget, when I say pause, you're gonna pause until you complete the practice problems and then come back to me, okay? Otherwise, you'll just end up with like a 5-second countdown and then I'm just gonna explain the other problems. I do want you to try these. So I would like for you to try problems 5, 7, and 9, okay? All right, and pause. Okay, hopefully you did pause. You tried problems 5, 7, and 9. So let's go ahead and look at problem number 5 real quick. We have 1/5 plus 1/2, and we are adding that to 2/5, okay? And how would you regroup this, okay? Well, hopefully you said, well, these both have fifths as the denominator, so I'm going to group those together first. I'm going to do 1/5 plus 2/5, and then I'll add the 1/2 in later, okay? 1 plus 2 gives me 3/5, okay, plus 1/2, okay? Alrighty, and I'm going to move this all up because, like I said, I got a really small board here. So we got 3/5 plus 1/2, okay? Pretty easy to solve. We find our common denominator. In this case, it would be 10. We're going to change them both to a 10 as the denominator, okay? 5 times what gives me 10? Well, 5 times 2 gives me 10, so 3 times 2 is 6. And 2 times what gives me 10? It's 5. 5 times 2 is 10, so 1 times 5 is 5. When we add those together, we get 11 tenths, okay? How many times will 10 go into 11? It'll go one whole time with 1 left over, okay? Alrighty, finish that one. Let's move on to number 7. Number 7 says 2 5/12 plus 4 1/4 plus 1/4. Okay. All right. Again, I'm going to regroup these. I'm going to do the 4 1/4 plus 1/4 first. Okay. So we're still left with the 2 5/12. Okay. And I could pretty much do this one in my head because all I have to do is add these 2 4s together. So the 4 stays the same. 1/4 plus 1/4 gives me 2 4s. Okay. So I am left with 2 5/8 plus 4 2 4s. Okay. I'm going to drop my whole numbers down. Okay. Now, 12 and 4. The easiest common denominator to use would be 12. Can you use 48 if that's what you ended up with? Absolutely. So I'm going to use 12 because I don't like to do reducing at the end if I can help it. Okay. How did I get from 4 to 12? 4 times what gives me 12? Well, 4 times 3 gives me 12. So 3 times 2 is 6. Okay. I'm going to add my 2 whole numbers together. 2 plus 4 is, that's right, 6. And then I'm going to add my 2 fractions together. 5 plus 6 is, that's right, 11. And we'll put it back over 12. So your answer is 6 11/12. Okay. If you have any problems, of course, get me down at the bottom. All right, let's try this last one we tried out together. That would be 5/9 plus 1/9 plus 4/5. Okay. Again, I'm just going to regroup and do the adding the 9s together, the 1/9 together first. Okay. 5/9 plus 1/9 gives me 6/9 plus 4/5. Okay. All right. So what number will 9 and 5 both go into? Well, they will both go into 45. Okay. You say, how did I get from 9 to 45? I multiplied by 5, so 5 times 6 is 30. How did I get from 5 to 45? I multiplied by 9, so 9 times 4 is 36. Okay, add them together, you get 66 over 45. Okay, cannot leave it like that, so you will get one whole number, and then what do you have left over? You've got 21 out of 45. Okay, you figure out what it can be reduced by. In this case, it can be reduced by 3. Okay, so how many times will 3 go into 21? It will go 7 times. How many times will it go into 45? It will go 15. So your answer is 1 7/15. Okay, all right, if you had any problems with these, please message me in the bottom. But as you can see, these are properties that we have already naturally been using. I just wanted to make sure that you remembered how flexible we can be with this, okay? So you are going to now turn to page 411, and you are going to do 2 to 8 even. Okay, so it's only 4 problems. 2 to 8 even. All right, message me if you have any questions. Love you guys.